There was a 17-year-old girl in Pennsylvania who once went to sleep in November and did not wake up until January. Not for a night, and not for a weekend, not even for a few days. She slept for 64 days. While the rest of the world celebrated Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year, Nicole Dellen was trapped inside a sleep that her own body seemed to control. She could get out of bed, she could eat, she could go to the bathroom, but according to her mother, she was in a state that looked like she was sleepwalking. Doctors struggled to understand what was happening. Her family went from hospital to hospital looking for an answer. Eventually, they discovered that Nicole wasn't simply sleeping too much. She had a rare neurological disorder known as the Klein-Levin syndrome. The media would give it another name, Sleeping Beauty syndrome. But there was nothing magical about it. Every time the condition returned, Nicole wasn't just losing sleep, she was losing time too. And sometimes she lost weeks of her life. This is the strange story of Nicole Dellen. If you are a fan of true, strange, extraordinary but true stories, this is it. This is your channel. Subscribe so that you never ever miss a story. The question that her family was left asking was one that they couldn't answer. When would she wake up? And when would it happen again? Nicole was from Pennsylvania, and from the outside, she looked like a normal, ordinary teenager. She had a family, she had friends, and she had plans too. She had the normal things that a teenager should be thinking about. But there was something about Nicole's life that most teenagers never had to think about. She could never be completely sure that the next day actually belonged to her, because when an episode of the Klein-Levin syndrome arrived, her entire life could suddenly stop, and the few hours she was awake did not necessarily mean that she was functioning normally. Her mother explained that Nicole might wake up, walk around, eat something, or even use the bathroom. But she was always confused. She would appear to be sleepwalking, and afterward, she might not remember what she had done. Then she would go back to sleep again and again until another day had disappeared, then another and another. For most people, sleeping 19 hours sounds impossible. For Nicole, it was part of the disorder. The really shocking part wasn't the number of hours, it was how long these episodes could continue. Reports from the time said that Nicole's episodes could last anywhere from 32 to 64 days. Imagine going to sleep on a normal day and waking up more than 1 month later. Imagine everything that could happen while you were gone. People going to school, people going to work, seasons changing, birthdays arriving, bills getting paid, people taking photographs. Life would continue without you. And imagine discovering that you had missed all of it. That was Nicole's reality. But there was one episode that became particularly devastating. It started around Thanksgiving. Nicole went to sleep, then Thanksgiving passed. Christmas arrived, Christmas disappeared. Nicole was still sleeping. Then New Year came, and Nicole was still asleep. The episode eventually lasted 64 days, her longest episode. 64 days of her life had passed while she was trapped inside one of the strangest medical conditions doctors had ever seen. Nicole missed Thanksgiving, she missed Christmas, she missed birthdays, and she even missed a family trip to Disney World. According to her family, she could only remember 3 Christmases out of the previous 10. Think about that. A child growing up normally might remember Christmas as one of the biggest events of the year. For Nicole, Christmas had become something that she could lose. Sometimes she would be awake for it, and sometimes she wouldn't. And there was absolutely no guarantee. Her mother described the condition in a way that made one thing clear. This wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't peaceful either. It was watching your own daughter disappear into sleep while you had no idea when she could come back, and the family did not immediately know what was wrong. They looked for answers. Doctors tried to figure out why their daughter was spending so much time asleep. There were periods when the family did not even have a clear explanation of what they were seeing. Eventually, a doctor recognized the pattern. Nicole was diagnosed with Klein-Levin syndrome. Finally, the family had a name. But having a name did not mean that they had solved the problem. Klein-Levin syndrome is extremely rare. It primarily affects the adolescents and it is characterized by recurring episodes of excessive sleepiness. During an episode, a person can sleep for most of the day and night, and the condition can also affect behavior, thinking, energy, and appetite. Then something even stranger happens. The episode ends and the person can return to something much closer to normal. Nicole could go from being a teenager whose life had essentially stopped back to being Nicole. She could talk, she could spend time with her family, she could make plans, and she could live normally until the next episode. And that uncertainty became one of the hardest parts, because Nicole couldn't simply decide that she wasn't going to sleep again. Her body made that decision for her. At one point, her family won tickets to see Katy Perry. It should have been an exciting experience when a teenager gets to see one of the world's biggest pop stars. But then Nicole's condition intervened. She was asleep. She missed the concert. Another ordinary teenage memory had disappeared. The story eventually reached Katy Perry, and instead of the missed opportunity being the end of the story, something unexpected happened. Perry learned about Nicole's condition and arranged for Nicole to meet her backstage at another performance. For once, the disorder did not get the final word. Nicole got her meeting, but there was still something hanging over the entire experience. The possibility that another episode could come, because the doctors couldn't simply tell Nicole when the next episode would happen. Her last reported episode was at that time in March. She said that she was afraid of when the next one might arrive. And this is what makes the Klein-Levin syndrome so different from ordinary sleep. You don't simply go to bed because you're tired. The episodes can arrive and take control of enormous parts of your life. And between episodes, someone can appear completely healthy. That makes the condition incredibly difficult for families to understand, because one day everything looks normal and then suddenly it isn't. In Nicole's case, her family had to go through multiple hospitals before finally getting an explanation. And even after the diagnosis, there was still a bigger question. Why would a teenager's brain suddenly force her in 2 weeks of extreme sleep? What causes it? Why does it begin? Why does it eventually stop? When doctors don't know exactly why something is happening, they cannot simply promise that it will never happen again. Nicole's story eventually became public because her family wanted other people to understand the Klein-Levin syndrome was real. How do you live normally when you know that at any moment you could fall asleep and lose weeks of your life? Leave your thoughts in the comments because we read every single one.